Donald Trump stepped onto the stage at a U.S. steel plant in Pennsylvania and vowed to double steel tariffs to 50%. The crowd roared. Wall Street froze. Within hours, boardrooms were buzzing, supply chain calls lit up, and 5 household name companies reached the same conclusion: it's time to leave. They're not running from wages or automation, just the tariff war that was meant to protect them. No midnight tweet, no primetime press conference, just a thunderclap in the markets and a cold shiver in boardrooms nationwide. With a single rally-side promise in Pennsylvania, the president doubled steel tariffs to 50%, 5-0. Instantly, the price of American steel shot up, Wall Street's steel stocks rocketed, and the rest of the economy braced for impact. But the real bombshell wasn't in the numbers. It was in the silence that followed. Behind closed doors, 5 of the country's most recognizable companies reached the same frightening conclusion: it's cheaper to leave than to stay. The crowd at the U.S. steel plant cheered when Donald Trump vowed no one will undercut American metal again. 24 hours later, European diplomats woke up to a fresh threat: an identical 50% levy aimed squarely at their exports. The White House flirted with a delay, then revoked it, then dangled it again like a bargaining chip strapped with dynamite. Investors called it a yo-yo policy. CEOs called their lawyers. Suddenly, every shipment of ore, every roll of sheet metal, every screw on the factory floor carried a question mark and a premium. Bentonville, Arkansas, the heartbeat of retail. Walmart's leadership rarely panics in public. Their brand is built on calm, relentless efficiency. But on the latest earnings call, voices wavered. Margins are strangled, one executive admitted. Beginning this June, milk, diaper, dog food, no aisle is safe. Price tags are climbing in unison because the nation's discount king can no longer swallow tariff hikes on the ingredients of everyday life. Worse, the chain is choking its own supply. Fewer truckloads arriving, restock dates pushed back, supplier contracts quietly under review. When the world's largest retailer tells shoppers to brace for impact, that is the impact. Before the last syllable echoed, regional grocers copied the move. Dollar stores hiked canned goods prices. Online carts across America refreshed with higher totals. The invisible tax had arrived on the receipt. But Bentonville wasn't the only siren. Picture an auto assembly line. Robotic arms, sparks, the hum of certainty. Now remove certainty. Raw steel one week costs 20 cents a pound more, next week 40, next week who knows. That's why General Motors and Ford did the unthinkable. They withdrew their full-year guidance. Wall Street analysts sat stunned as CFOs basically said, "Your guess is as good as ours." In Indiana, Stellantis trimmed 370 skilled jobs, explaining that every Jeep or Chrysler rolling off the line could suddenly be a money loser if tariffs jump another notch. Ford has already idled select shifts. GM is rerouting R&D to Ontario and Mexico City, looking for tariff-neutral ground. On I-75, billboard after billboard still flashes "Made in Michigan." But behind the slogans, spreadsheets now calculate profitability in kilometers instead of miles. If any brand drips red, white, and blue, it's Harley-Davidson. The roar of a Milwaukee-built V-twin is practically the national anthem on 2 wheels. Yet 3 flagship models, the Pan America Adventure Bike, the Sportster S Muscle Cruiser, and the Retro Nightster, are packing their saddlebags for Thailand. Why? A 60% import duty levied by foreign governments on U.S. machines, coupled with new American tariffs on components flowing the opposite way. Harley's accountants drew a brutal map: build abroad or watch your profit burn rubber. Workers call it betrayal. Executives call it survival. Either way, the Harley rumble will soon echo through Bangkok nights, Peoria, Illinois, in Caterpillar's vast proving grounds, Yellow earth movers still thunder over test tracks, but their balance sheet just cratered by up to $350 million. Tariffs alone, steel teeth, hydraulic pumps, electronic brains. Even the paint on the hood now costs more at the U.S. port than they would inside a bonded zone overseas. The new CEO's coded phrase, evaluating long-term mitigation actions, translates to, maybe it's time to dig elsewhere. If Caterpillar uproots even a slice of its operation, the ripple will jolt every quarry, every road crew, every construction site that relies on parts delivered overnight from the Midwest. Bulldozers can't scrape rock if the cost of a replacement blade is buried under tariff rubble. They called it the swoosh shock. Nike told retailers a $2 to $10 bump per pair kicks in next month. The culprit, a tariff bracket that slaps up to 46% duties on shoes stitched in Vietnam, home to over half of Nike's sneaker output. Discounts? Gone. Promo codes? Scarce. Suddenly, the kid saving lawn mowing money for new Jordans needs an extra shift. Nike's marketing gurus spin it as premium positioning. Shoppers translate it differently. The tariff tax. In Memphis, the distribution hub scales back over time. In Oregon, corporate strategy sessions now revolve around which product lines can migrate to tariff-safe factories before holiday season. Polaris, the off-road dynasty, quietly pulled its revenue forecast, citing planning impossibilities. Target shut a handful of underperforming stores and trimmed big-ticket orders because sticker shock kept shoppers home. Anonymous memos from household name suppliers speak of Plan B facilities in Guadalajara and Da Nang. It isn't cheap labor they crave, it's policy stability. When customs duties shift like fault lines, companies seek ground that doesn't move. On the highways, independent truckers report fewer outbound loads. Soybean growers stare at full silos because foreign buyers found cheaper, tariff-free crops elsewhere. Every link in the chain, from the cargo ship broker to the forklift driver, feels the grind of a friction economy. Tariffs aren't just taxes, they're sand in the gears. Customs backlogs add days. Importers pay storage fees while paperwork catches up with politics. Legal teams prep lawsuits against what they call arbitrary penalties. Insurance premiums jump to cover supply chain volatility. CFOs obsess over hedging strategies instead of hiring plans. And perhaps the scariest lesson for business leaders, Washington can flip the switch overnight. Today, it's steel. Tomorrow, it could be microchips, then wine, then bicycles. When survival depends on guessing the next tweet, the only safe option is to relocate out of the blast radius. Walk any main street, and you'll spot the hidden cost. Milk that was $3.29 last month sits at $3.79. A made-in-USA lawnmower is back-ordered indefinitely. The local plant's parking lot empties by noon because the second shift never clocks in. Tariffs were sold as a shield. Instead, they became a ship sending cargo, capital, and careers overseas. Walmart is warning. Detroit is stalling. Harley is flying east. Caterpillar is crunching escape routes. Nike is taxing teen dreams, and that's just this week. The exodus is no longer a threat on the horizon. It's the dust cloud in the rearview mirror. So ask yourself, can a nation tariff its way to prosperity? While its most iconic brands vote with their passports, the factories are speaking with silence, the price tags with decimals, the job boards with blank spaces. Unless the rules change, the story of the modern American tariff will be written not in trade balances, but in farewells. And the next goodbye may already be on tomorrow's earnings call.